Hello, thank you so much for joining me for this yoga session. This session is going to be maybe a little bit more high intensity, not too much though, of course, and I hope that I show you enough modification and you are taking care of yourself to modify what feels good to you. So make sure that you get whatever supports you, yoga mat, your level of thickness and stickiness, and that's one of those things you kind of have to play around with to find the one that works best. But it's hard. You don't want. Don't want to say go spend a bunch of money, but yeah. If you ever go to a yoga studio and you have to borrow a mat and you like it, make sure you're asking what the mat is, so that maybe if you like it, then it's like a tryout. I've got yoga blocks, I've got blankets, I've got something to drink. So find yourself settling in on your breath. That is the first part. You are practicing unhooking from everything that's going on in the world, everything that's going on in your world, as much as you can. Really setting it aside so you can be with your breath, your body, the very, very present moment. You're showing up for yourself and connecting with yourself. You're treating yourself with kindness, compassion, and love. And let that breath get fuller and deeper. That full, deep inhale and exhale, that exchange of air. That is the rhythm of the universe. And that is what you are getting good at. You're getting good at figuring out exactly what it is you need to take in and leave in order to support you, and what to let go of and not allow in if it doesn't serve you. Letting that breath start to come to the 3-part yoga breath. This is where you're filling up the lower third of your lungs, then the middle third, then the upper third, and then release fully, upper, middle, lower. And let that 3-part yoga breath get fuller and deeper as you sit. Make sure, like I'm doing right now, if your feet start to become tingly or your legs uncomfortable, make sure you find that place of support. Your legs don't even have to be really close to you. They can be extended out. But try to find yourself sitting on your sitting bones and then lifting up into that space around you. No strain on anything. Your joints fully protected. But sitting here, starting to feel how you are grounded. The back body is helping to ground you. The front body is helping to lift you. Let that full, deep breath start to become as deep as feels good to you. You can also press the navel into the space in front of you as the breath goes into the lower third of your lungs and the middle third of your lungs. Feel your ribs move up and apart. And the breath goes into the upper third of your lungs. Feel your heart move up in your chest. And then you exhale, heart and chest relax. Ribs move down and together. And then you pull that navel back and up into your body. And then the inhale happens again. And you fill up navel, ribs, chest. Exhaling fully, chest, ribs, navel. The breath is something that you can use in order to stay connected to the present moment. Whenever you find yourself struggling, or maybe you become aware of not paying attention, that is exactly when you're doing yoga right. So congratulate yourself and bring yourself back to your breath and keep practicing. Because that space between your thoughts is where a lot of answers and information lie. And until you start to pay attention, you miss it. Press down into your mat. Feel that connection to the floor, the building, the ground the building's built into, and then the world that connects us all. So think about engagement, or actively start to tilt your pelvis, back body down, front body up. Press your knees away, flex your feet, and you feel that support, that anchoring in, that rooting down from within that is happening. And then from that place, on your next exhale, lift yourself, stretch yourself, rise up from where you are rooting down, and take up all that space around you that you are meant to take up. So this is where you can activate, keeping that lower girdle active. You start to activate that upper girdle, lifting the heart. The blades are coming down and gently pulling together, not squeezing. You start to feel this gentle stretch on your collarbone, maybe the tops of your shoulders as you press the crown of your head to the sky. And not only do you have the sensation of pressing down to support yourself, to root in, and then to also press up north to lift and stretch yourself into the space, but also go east, west, right, left. Feel yourself take up all that space around you. You get basically the amount of room that you can reach, right? That's your consent circle. You're always the one, you're the only one that allows consent within this circle. So stretch out into it and take it up and get intimate with the whole part, this part around you too. Like this, I think you extend out to, right, to this space. You actually extend out to the atmosphere, but we won't go any deeper. Let yourself breathe full and deep, navel, ribs, chest. Exhaling fully, chest, ribs, navel. You can bring your hands to your heart, your navel, one of each, resting gently on your legs, whatever feels comfortable. Let a few more deep, full breaths come and go. Know that what you're doing in this practice right here is just to help you move more, better in your life, help you perform just regular life stuff. I'm not going to help you, so you can pose in bikinis. That's not ever going to be the goal. So if that's what your goal is, great, but I just want to be able to move for the rest of my life. So that is the kind of yoga that I lead. All right, so let yourself start to move in your seat. If you're seated up on something, maybe move it out from underneath you just so you've got that nice solid base, and you're just going to start to make some gentle circles around. And pay attention to which leg is in front or on top. And so really try to find that base as you stretch over those legs. And if your legs aren't as close to your body as mine are, that's okay. If they're extended out in front of you with a nice big healthy bend in your knee, you can still make these rotations. You're going to pause. You can still do this rotation move. Inhale and exhale. If you don't believe me and you're not doing it, I can show you. You can have your knees really bent and you can move around, and then you can still do what we're going to do. But what's going to happen is if you do have your legs crossed, you're going to pause, and I want you to cross them the opposite way and continue to make these circles. If your legs are extended, I just want you to continue to make these circles. Let that breath be full and deep. I'm actually going to take a second here to strip my socks off. I know that is what I like to have, my socks off when I do yoga. I find I have a better connection to the mat. All right, so now you've gone around a few hundred times maybe by now, and you're going to pause, letting yourself come into That forward fold position. I love to start. I'm going to bring my drink a little bit closer. I can feel a little tickle. All the talking gets the mouth. It can get parched. All right, but I also suck down like a bunch of salt and pepper popcorn right before. So I think that salt is like, yeah. So that's my bad. All right. You're in that staff position. Your legs are active. You're pressing down with your sitting bones, pressing through those heels. Make sure you've got the blocks in order to help keep you lifted. You're hinging. This is where we're going to row. If it doesn't feel good to reach wide, keeping that girdle engaged, then I want you to just lift straight up above your head, keeping that girdle engaged. And then if neither of those feel good, keeping that girdle engaged, both girdles, you're going to keep your arms pretty low and just do the low row, which you still get that stretch down your back. This is one of those ones where depending on how much flesh you have in front, is going to feel varying degrees of comfort depending on how tight your hamstrings are. Keep those knees bent. You can have your knees bent super deep and can be doing this move, and you are getting what is helpful in the move in order to get the stretch down that low back. Pause, reaching forward. Try to keep your girdles engaged. So you're pulling down that back body. You're lifting that front body. You're reaching only as far forward as feels good. There's no strain. Keep activating those legs. Your knees can be really bent. Keep those kneecaps pulled up into your thighs. And then you're going to release. Bring those arms back. Stay aware of how you're holding yourself in your trunk. And let those knees start to windshield wiper. So you're not putting all your weight on your limbs. You're staying lifted in your trunk. You're still lifting your front body, pulling that back body down, inhaling and exhaling after dropping those knees side to side. You're going to let yourself come down onto your back. Take your time getting there. We're going to do a few things for the trunk. I like to make a little cushion for my head. I keep my neck nice and long. It helps to pull my neck so I don't have my chin lifted. I always have it pulled down, and sometimes having a little something on the back of the head helps to keep that sensation. And when you start on your back, you're just windshield wipering to start with. Keep that pelvis engaged. So you're pulling that back body down, lifting that front body. If you do not have any aggravation on your low back, then pick up your feet and start to rock and circle. But if this aggravates you, if this hurts, if you are experiencing pain, bring those feet down and keep trying to pull that pelvis into that place of support. And then maybe you start to notice, I notice how I can feel where my back there's no pain, but it's like where, like there used to be pain. There's like the void, and I know where it is, right? So you are always, this just comes down to you're protecting yourself. If it feels okay to keep those feet lifted, lift those feet. If you have aggravation or it just feels better, you keep those feet down. But this is where you're still pulling that pelvis, right? You're making that diamond and you're imagining that clock. 12 is at your navel, 6 is at your pubic bone, 3 and 9 are at your hip flexors. You're trying to keep that all in the same plane. All right. So after your movement is done, this is where you want to keep that nice, solid upper body, because that's going to be your base. You want to keep that chin tucked. You want to keep you want to keep pressing yourself down to the short edge of your space, and then also trying to lengthen yourself to the short edge of your space up here, but then also try to stretch yourself to the long edge of your space, so you're taking up all that room, so your upper girdle's engaged, that heart's lifted, those blades are coming down, and you're gently tucking them into your body. Doing that against the floor causes any discomfort. Please don't do it, but I think it feels good. It's like I'm pressing those sockets down into the floor. That is my base. I want you then to either leave your feet on the floor or bring them up to knee height, or if it feels all right and you don't lift your glutes up off the floor, you're lifting those heels to the sky, your knees can still really be bent. In fact, your legs are active no matter what you're doing. Inhaling and exhaling. I'm just showing you the three different, and you can like start here and then go to whichever. Inhaling and exhaling. Stay with your breath. Breathing full and deep. All right, after just being in this position, even right here in this lower bridge position, I think is helping to make you stronger. So just another breath. Then I want you to bring your feet down if they're lifted. Here's where, if it's more comfortable for you when you lift your legs, to have a little bit of a pelvic, to help your pelvis tilt. And this is one of those things where you have to experiment and decide what works for you. But you do that diamond shape again, and you bring it to right, like you frame right where your tail would be. Basically where the dimples are, right above your crack. Just to put it in non-delicate terms. Your elbows are not strained. Your shoulders are not strained. If this aggravates your shoulders or your elbows, then don't do it. But then lifting those legs kind of just gives you, it just gives that pelvis that little bit of lift, so it's better in that place. And then you can move. And remember, you can have your knees really, really bent. You don't even have to have your feet up in the sky. So to start with, if you've got your legs up, you're just going to lower and lift like this a couple times. If you've got your knees really bent, I want you to kind of push it out and then bring it back. Push it out and then bring it back. Push it out and then bring it back. If you have your feet down, then I want you to pull that knee into your body and then bring it back down. So everyone's doing, no matter what level you're at, you're moving your body. You're supporting your body however feels good. Inhaling and exhaling. Couple more. And then you're going to pause. Bring those legs to that place of rest and repair. Bring your upper body out from underneath your body. Let those arms release. Hopefully no strain on your elbows. Breathing full and deep. That was a lot of lower trunk work. So you're stabilizing with the upper trunk, and then that lower trunk is getting conditioned, and you're letting those limbs, those leg limbs move, but you're becoming aware of how it's not just your legs, it is that pelvis. All right, depending on your energy level, either you're going to rock up into seated, or you're going to roll to one side and press yourself up into seated. Please don't strain yourself, don't hurt yourself. Come around onto your hands and knees and press yourself back into that child position. I'm going to get these blocks up here. I'm actually going to pause and get a little drink here. And then bring myself around with some cushion for my knees, always protecting, always taking care, always keeping the girdles engaged, always keeping that back body bearing down, tethering you, and then finding the stretch and the lift in the front body. Inhale and exhale. Stay with your breath. Lifting into your stable table. Knees walk underneath those hips. Hands are underneath those shoulders. Do not hyperextend those elbows. Do a little pelvic tilt. So this is to pull that back body down. Lift that front body to pull that pelvis into that place of support. You're going to then activate the upper girdle by pulling those blades together, dropping that chest, pulling those blades apart, and then pausing with the pull the blades apart. And then your cat and cow can be right in the middle. Inhale and exhale, that middle back that typically doesn't get any love. Not hyper flexible. I try to, it's right where your obliques are. It's really the most important part. I am going to keep pointing out how to stabilize your lower back and your upper back because they're hypermobile, and how to stabilize with your girdles, and then have the movement be more in that middle back. Pause and then rest back into a child. So this is where, if it feels better to you, to walk those legs only as far apart as feels good, to rest down, taking the strain off. You're still holding yourself in your body, resting your head down. You can always make a pillow with your hands, inhaling and exhaling. I've still got my face lifted just so I can keep talking to you, but I'm actively pressing back with my whole self as I drop that tail. And then even though I'm in this resting and this child pose with my face down, I'm still lifting with my front body. Navel, ribs, chest. Exhaling fully. Chest, ribs, navel. Back up into that table position. Make sure that you're in that stable table. Trying to bring the weight to above, right? So it's to the top part of your hand. So you can lift that back part of your hand to get that engagement with that upper part. Remember, no hyperextension of the elbows. Bring the palms of your hands down, and then maybe you feel, hopefully you feel that little bit of space that is created there that brings that palm into that place of support. And then you're going to send that right leg back. So keep the foot on the ground, keep the hips square, and you're just gently rocking back and forth. Press evenly into the palms. Feel yourself be even between the left knee and the right foot. Inhale and exhale. Now my back is going to be to you, but that's okay. Because what you've got that left knee down. I'm going to actually bring my left hand to a block just because I like to have that little bit of lift. I'm going to send that lower left leg just a little bit to the back of the space, and then I'm going to stack that right hip on top of the left, and then I'm reaching in that great big knee down, side angle posture. That arm reaching up, and of course you can also reach over your head. Keep trying to pull that back body down. Oops. Lift that front body even if you fall. Inhale and exhale. And then bring yourself back to regular table, pressing yourself back into child. So that was left arm down, left knee down. Come completely up and rest in child. If you do feel a lot of sensation in your wrists, in your hands, you're being gentle with them. Back up into your table. This is where you're in that stable table. You're going to send that left leg back. To start with, you're just doing a few rocks. Pressing evenly with your upper body and your lower body. Keep lifting that navel up underneath your heart. And then you're going to pause. That right hand can stay on a block. I'm going to rotate that lower leg, and then I'm going to stack. So I'm rotating. I'm actually picking my foot up. So my foot's not like glued to the floor. I don't want your foot to be glued to the floor either. Try to find that lightness in your feet because you're lifting with your hips. And then that arm is reaching wherever feels comfortable into that great big knee down side angle. And then once again, rest back in your child, breathing full and deep. Navel, ribs, chest, exhaling fully, chest, ribs, navel. So I'm not really feeling like doing too much of a flow, but I am feeling like getting into some deep stretches with the Warrior series. So you're always in charge, and if you are so moved to flow, we're going to come into our downward dog, or you're going to stay in table. It really doesn't matter. Whatever works for you. So this first downward dog, you are moving as much or as little as feels good. You're trying to let the weight be in your trunk, not your limbs. Inhale and exhale. Breathing full and deep. And if you want to come down to your knees in order to swing that right leg from that three-legged dog up to the front of your space, or come through your knees and come from that three-legged table. If you do have that knee down, you're just going to curl the toes and bring the leg up. Keep those hips square to the mat, and then smear that left foot down. Press evenly into the balls and the heels. Make sure that right knee cap and left knee cap are lifted, and then you are lifting up into, your Warrior One, breathing full and deep. Your stance might not be very big. Keep breathing. You're going to bring your hands. I don't want you to strain your digits or your elbows or your shoulders. If it's comfortable to clasp your fingers, then you can. Otherwise, you're just bringing your hands to right where your back pockets would be and letting yourself hinge over that right leg. And of course, you can use blocks, the wall. Keep trying to pull that left side so it's even with that right side. You're lifting that front body, bearing down with that back body. Kneecaps pulled up into your thighs. And then we're going to lift, and then we're going to open up. So now you're bringing the hips square to the long edge. Take your time settling in so it looks kind of the same because you've got this bent front knee, but this back leg, you're still pressing through that heel. You've now arranged yourself to come into that Warrior Two, and we're just going to hinge over that leg again. I mean, we just did it in that Warrior One, and then we're going to come into that Warrior Two, and keeping that right arm down, and then lifting that whole left side. So basically, cutting yourself in half, and feeling how that left side and that right side work together, and then open up that left side. Inhale and exhale. And then see how I bring that back leg up, because I just didn't feel like I had enough control. So I often rearrange my stance. I encourage you to rearrange your stance. I'm lifting myself in my trunk, so that's where my feet stay a little bit light. In this reverse Warrior Two, you're then going to lift to come into reverse triangle, and then you are going into regular triangle, this solid base of a lower body, and then bring that right arm down and think about trying to bring that right side down and then up, and then think about the left side up and then down. The sensation is you always bearing down and you always lifting up. All of the things are always happening. And then you are taking your time lifting yourself up, making sure that you feel supported. I love blocks on either side. You're going to bring that back leg in a little bit. Keep those kneecaps nice and supported. And you're going to use the blocks, not bopping your head, coming into your standing split. Inhaling and exhaling, pressing through both heels. And then play around with lifting yourself up and come into the balancing half moon. Inhale and exhale. Breathe full and deep. Navel, ribs, chest. Exhale fully. Chest, ribs, navel. You're going to come back to that runner's lunge. Be very gentle as you step back into that downward dog. Breathing full and deep. Navel, ribs, chest. Exhaling fully. Chest, ribs, navel. Now, and of course I want you to rest in child if you need to. I'm going to turn around so when we do that series on the other side, I stay facing you just to help with right the direction. All right, so you bring that left leg forward, whether it be through some fancy move you do with downward dog, or maybe you just swing it forward, even taking a couple steps from that kneeling position. Whatever way you choose, you're holding yourself in that lower trunk, curling those back toes if they're down, or lifting those back knees if they're down, smearing that right side down, trying to keep cranking those hips square to the short edge of the space. Inhaling and exhaling, letting yourself gently clasp or just reach for your back pockets. You also don't even have to do that. You can reach for the floor, the blocks. Inhaling and exhaling. Let some energy build here. Let the balls of both feet, the heels of both feet, that is what you feel doing the work. The toes are doing no work. And then take your time. Lift yourself up, and then you're going to rotate open into that warrior two position. So maybe your legs come a little bit further apart, a little bit closer. It doesn't matter. Now the hips are squaring to the long edge. Once you feel steady and supported, same thing, balls and heels, it never changes. You're going to hinge over that left leg. Don't bring all your weight down onto the limbs. You are staying lifted. All the magic is happening in the trunk. Inhaling and exhaling. Keep pulling that back body down. Keep lifting that front body up, and then lift yourself to come into that reverse warrior two. This is not a back bend. This is a side stretch, both sides, because you're lifting that upper girdle. And then here's where you lengthen. You're pulling yourself up. You're not just straightening that leg. And then you are once again hinging. So keep that lower body nice and steady and supported. And then lift that right arm. And you are in your triangle hinge. Inhaling and exhaling. Staying with that breath. And then taking time. This is where we played around with our center of gravity. Make sure you feel supported. If you feel like you're going to vomit, then I don't want you to do this. I kind of feel like I'm going to vomit, but it has nothing to do with the yoga. It has to do with the salt and pepper popcorn I scarfed down. So it's my own bad. Inhaling and exhaling, pressing those legs apart. And then we played around with coming into that balancing half moon. I want you to just use whatever support works. Do not boop your head. Think about trying to stack your right side on top of your left side, reaching, and then you're taking your time to come back down into that runner's lunge, to step back into a plank, a knee down plank, either lifting to come up into the downward dog for 2 to 3 breaths, or going right to child. If you did come to downward dog after 2 to 3 breaths, you're going to make your way down to rest in that child. Stay with your breath. Inhaling and exhaling. Make sure that you are drinking water. I'm going to put these sleeves and this layer back on. I'm starting to get, even though I'm moving around, I started to get chilly. All right, you're taking care of you, doing whatever feels good, resting in that child. You're going to come into your squat for a few breaths. If it does not feel good to you to be super low in the squat, and I would like you to have your whole foot down on the ground. And if you can be down pretty low, and I start with my foot one side up, the other side as I swing to get these hips open, and then settle down with both heels. If that's not comfortable, come to where it is. And remember, you can use blocks. You can use a chair or a wall. Inhale and exhale. I want you to sit back a little bit further. If you're up a little bit higher, then you're going to turn your toes out. And then use those balls and heels, those toes not doing the work. Inhaling and exhaling, trying to bring the weight actually to the pinky toe side of the foot, no matter what you're doing with your body. And then if you're really low, you can press yourself up to standing or come into that forward fold. And then everyone's going to come up to standing. Take your time. Find both feet on the ground. You can come off your mat if that helps you to really connect with where you're at in space. Sometimes just having that different feel underneath your feet can help you with balance, so play around with that. Also, hopefully the shoes that you wear, you've got plenty of room to really spread out your whole foot and take up, just like I was talking about how you have all this space, right? You're trying to take up from the smallest part. Like, I want your pinky toe to have the room it's supposed to have. It's not all smushed up against the toe next to it. It is stretched out. And so that is what you are doing at all times. You're coming into mountain. That's what, as I'm talking to you here, right, finding those balls and heels, the toes lifted to stretch and just have that gentle grip. Kneecaps up into thighs, and then you do that pelvic engagement. So this is muscle and framework, both the back and the front. The lower body, you're dropping the back body, you are lifting the front body, you are engaging both muscle and framework. Navel dimples down, it is stiff as a board. Navel dimples up, you are light as a feather. Keep lifting that heart, pull those blades down. So you are in your standing mountain. Inhale and exhale. Remember to find that awareness, those toes not doing the work. And here I am, I'm just like, coming back on those heels. So there's always that place where you're trying to find that place right before either somersaulting forward or falling back on your ass. I mean, it's really, that is the kind of the balance of the universe. So make sure you're near a wall. These are subtle moves. We're going to start with our feet right underneath our hips and our toes pointing in the same direction as our knees. And remember to lift those toes. Now you might come up on your toes as we come, or I want you to really come up on the balls of your feet. Lift those kneecaps. And I'm going to turn to the side just so you can see. I'm using the wall. I'm not coming onto my toes. I'm coming onto the balls of my feet, but I'm Also engaging the framework of my pelvis, and then also the lifting the front body, the heart. Inhale and exhale, stay lifted as much as you can. It's a challenge to bring it and keep it on the balls, keep bringing that big toe. I have a tendency to go to there's like supine and propine. I have a tendency to come out. I think that's supine. All right, if you can keep those heels lifted, keep them lifted, you're going to drop back into, and remember, using a wall and a chair is not cheating. It's helping you stay supported. I still have my heels lifted. If you can still keep your heels lifted, keep them lifted. Inhaling and exhaling, and then drop your heels, and then press yourself up to a standing position and just receive that for a breath or two. Inhale and exhale. And then this is both of these things are actually a Pilates thing. You're going to bring those heels together. Same thing, protect those knees. Keep pulling them up into your thighs. And then lift yourself onto the balls of your feet. So keep pulling those heels together. This takes a while to really activate. And if it feels all right, then lower and lift. Inhale and exhale. Stay with your breath. And then bring yourself back and receive, breathing full and deep. Okay, so let's come into a pigeon posture. Taking your time to come into your favorite pigeon. I'm going to demonstrate regular pigeon. I'm using air quotes when I say regular pigeon, right? Just for lack of a better term. I'm also going to put socks on before I come into pigeon. If you want to come onto your back and do that posture where the four posture, the figure four sometimes it's called, and then seated, that is fire log, coming into double pigeon. I'm actually going to start on the left side, and I'm going to start from seated. You can, of course, come from downward dog, whatever feels comfortable, from a table position. Coming into from seated, I just roll over and then find myself lifted. I'm not dumped down. I'm starting on my left side. I am going to hinge over that leg, and I'm going to breathe here for a few breaths. Inhaling and exhaling. Stay with your breath. Try to feel the top of your knee. If you're in this regular pigeon position, try to feel it on the floor behind you. If you're in the figure four on your back, try to feel both glutes, even the side that you have lifted. If you're in that seated double pigeon fire log, same thing. Try to feel both glutes. Sometimes you can't, depending on how tight those hips are. The breath is full and deep. I love this regular pigeon and then coming into this hinge, because then as I let my belly get full and press it into the space in front of me, I get that nice massage on the back or on my body, and that just feels amazing. So it's getting deep into those, like organs and stuff, that organ massage. And then take your time, go to the other side, reset however feels good. Maybe you are doing something fancy where you're pulling into that downward dog and then doing a three-legged dog and then doing some sort of flip. I mean, great. Just don't hurt yourself. Always protect yourself. If you're just coming into whatever posture feels good to reset, that's great. If it's child, great. I actually came to seated and I'm just sitting here, and now I'm moving to the other side. Take your time. Everything still applies. It's all the same stuff. Doesn't matter which side it is. Breathing full and deep, staying lifted with that front body, bearing down with that back body, only hinging over that bent leg leg if it's what feels good to you, using whatever support. I mean, you could be using a bolster, a bunch of blankets. Breathing full and deep. Navel, ribs, chest. Exhaling fully, chest, ribs, navel. Get that nice massage on your stomach, on your lower trunk, your front trunk, your frunk. Inhale and exhale. Taking care of yourself as you come out. Lifting to the position that feels good to you. And then finding yourself in that position that feels good. Maybe you're ready to come onto your back. And if you've got time here, take some time coming into your favorite posture. Maybe it's a twist, maybe it's a heart opener, maybe it's happy baby, maybe it's a combination of all of that. And then settle into relaxation. So if you've got 5, 7, 8, 10 minutes to lay and let this practice integrate deep into your muscle memory that you can draw on it later in life, then please do that. If laying down just is not working for you, just because for whatever reason, if you want to sit in meditation, 5, 7, 8, 10 minutes, it doesn't have to be anything formal. It doesn't have to be you without support. Like you can come up against a wall and rest yourself against a wall as you meditate, or come to sit in a chair if that is more comfortable. But when you're meditating, you're trying to find that space between your thoughts, and you're trying to actively seek the space between your thoughts. And if you do that, it is, like I said, amazing. You have the knowledge, the information that you need in order to decide what works best for you, with no guilt, no shame, no explanation. It all happens like that because you know, and it's amazing. So thank you so much for joining me. Please take care of yourself. Namaste. So long. Bye.